Hello everyone, back tuning into today's second video. We've already done the weekend forecast, of course, which you can find here on the homepage. Just scroll down and it'll be there just underneath this video here on the homepage. Weekend forecast will take us through next week, having a detailed look at weather for the coming week. This is CANSIPS Saturday, and we're going to have a look at weather for the next 6 months from the CANSIPS Canadian model. Now, this is from website tropicaltidbits.com. Find links to Tropical Tidbits on the links page. What I've got to say with this, as I always say with these 6 months look ahead, this one and the CFS one that we do later in the month, it's just for fun, just in the realm of speculation. The charts are there, so we might as well look at them, of course, but let's not take it too seriously, because as you're going out sort of 4, 5, 6 months away, it's very, of course, unreliable. So the next month or two, there is some merely what we're doing, but as we're going further and further out, and we could go to September 2016, but I won't do that because we have to draw a line. Sorry, the line we're going to draw is at 6 months. So as we go further out, the more unreliable it gets. But all that said, we'll have a look at the charts taking us through to April 2016. So very interesting to see what the CANSIPS model is indicating this month for the remainder of autumn, for winter and into spring as well. But before I get on with that, just to very quickly mention the ads at gazweathers.com. It's linked to articles on all pages at gazweathers. Have a browse through widgets. Any articles that you're interested in, please click through. You'll be able to go off and read the article. Thanks so much for doing that. This video ads on most pages. They open up with the content. We can watch them. They'll close back up again. Thanks so much for getting involved. And thanks to articles helping to pay for the website. Tomorrow we shall be doing the 4th Winter 2015-2016 update. Don't want to say too much about that, but it'll be on the homepage here at 10 AM tomorrow. So if you're interested in winter, big day coming up tomorrow. Right, let's get on with CANSIPS Saturday. We're going to start off with the mean sea level pressure anomalies first of all, going from November through to April. Then we'll have a look at the corresponding temperature and corresponding precipitation anomalies as well. So, starting off with the mean sea level pressure anomaly for November, blue extrapolating to low pressure, red extrapolating to high pressure. What we have for November is a very deep trough of low pressure in the Atlantic running to the northwest of the country. The jet streams running through the country. In fact, it's blasting through the country. That's a very unsettled looking scenario for November. I'm sure there would be bouts of heavy rain, probably gale force winds as well. We've got ridging down to the south, so that could give some, just saying some protection to the south, but really this is a very unsettled looking chart with the chance of quite a lot of heavy rain, gale force winds as well. So, a traditionally wet and windy month for November to start us off. Now, we move through into December, and what we get for this is quite a significant change in the weather pattern. If you know how to read these charts, and you know this is fairly good news if you want cold weather, because we've got a lot of red up across Greenland. That's a ridge of high pressure, anomalous ridge, sitting over Greenland, and then we've got this trough underneath it down across the UK, and also extending into Central Europe over here as well. So what this will do is feed the winds down from a north or northeasterly direction. There's a trough of low pressure there to provide precipitation, so that could be a cold and wintry scenario as we're going through into December. That looks pretty interesting to start the winter if you want some colder weather. Going through into January, and well, similar sort of scenario, but for January the blocking is weakening up over Greenland, so there is still hints of some red colours there, some high pressure, but really this trough is weak, the ridge is weakening, and the ridge, which is mainly centred to the south, is probably starting to push northward. So what could be going on there? Maybe transitional, something like that. Could start off fairly cold and blocked and wintry, and then transition to a milder unsettled scenario. But even so, there could still be some cold snaps even in with that, because the red colours do look like they're in across Greenland. We move through into February, and for February, well, I think everything's starting to revert more towards a westerly type scenario. So it's a little bit difficult to read these mean sea level pressure anomaly charts. But I think, again, weakening of the blocking over Greenland. So probably got low pressure actually returning to Greenland. And although there's a little bit of red here around Iceland, I think overall we're probably bringing the westerlies back in from the Atlantic, albeit rather weakly. There could also be some sort of ridging up around Scandinavia as well. So maybe for February I've got sort of the idea of the Atlantic trying to get in, but watch out for some ridging perhaps over Scandinavia, trying to fend it off and bring us easterlies perhaps. But I think December looks like a classically wintry month really on this update, whereas the other two, January and February, question marks about them. They could be wintry at times. We'll have a look and say at the temperature and precipitation anomalies that go with this. They could be wintry at times, but not the sort of classic wintry signature that we probably have for December. Now, as we go through into March, quite interesting, it looks like the blocking is coming back a little bit across Greenland for March, and across the polar field perhaps as well. So I think what could be going on there, again, the troughs are weakening in the Atlantic. We probably have some sort of ridge extending down through the central Atlantic as well. So it all looks like there's quite a lot of high pressure going on around here. So I think probably for March, maybe go more towards a drier, perhaps quite cold scenario. Not necessarily saying would be especially wintry, but it could be a drier, sort of colder type pattern, maybe with some frost at night, but warmer sort of days. And then finally we get through into April, and what we see for April is that we've got ridging through the central part of the Atlantic in that sort of position. I mean, a trough of low pressure is to the north and northeast of the country, interestingly, so that could send the jet stream onto a northwest-southeast trajectory. Always have a job to get that word out. Could send the jet stream onto a northwest-southeast trajectory, and that could give us some, well, certainly quite unsettled conditions in the north and the east, and maybe a little bit on the wintry side as well. So let's have a look and see how, I could go on further than that, but we're going to stop at April. Let's see how the temperature and precipitation anomalies go with this. So for November, going back to November, what we see is that we've got near normal temperatures. We're right over there in the far right hand corner of the chart as you're looking at it, of course, as we always are on these long-range charts. Near normal temperatures for November. And a couple of months ago, there was a suggestion that November could be quite a cold and wintry month. And obviously, the CANSIPS has backed off from that. So as we're going along with this, we are seeing that, well, maybe it's not all that reliable as a forecasting tool, because it has definitely moved away from the idea of quite a cold and wintry sort of November, and it's gone towards closer to average for November in terms of the temperatures. Now, December, I said it looked like a classically cold and wintry December, and here's the evidence of that. We're in those blue colours there, as is most of the northern latitudes as well, so significantly colder than average. Our temperature scale is on the side here, and we're actually there seeing temperature anomalies of between 2, not sure what make now, but between 2 and 4 degrees colder than average. So that's a very significantly colder than average December being forecast. So this is quite interesting because many of the models are indicating a mild start to winter and then probably progressing to something colder as we go along. But no, the CANSIPS is saying that we start off cold. Let's have a look at what it's showing for January. There we go. For January, we're progressing milder. So CANSIPS wants to have the cold anomalies, cold temperatures at the start of the winter for December, and then we go into a milder month as we go into January. Again, temperature scale is just here, and those anomalies are anything from 1 around 0.5 of a degree, around half a degree, to 1.5 degrees warmer than average. So 30 mild January being indicated there, albeit with the potential perhaps for some colder snaps at times. So very interesting, Madden. It is a big change on what most of the models are showing, which do sort of back end the cold, have it in February and late winter, but this wants it particularly in the early part of winter, front load it. Getting through into February, the temperature normally goes cooler, not cold, but it goes sort of to average type conditions in terms of the temperature normally for February. Notice most of America really dreadfully cold. That's a horrendous anomaly chart there for most of Northern America. Really locked into the freezer for them. For us, we get all of the severe weather out of the way in December. I mean, January goes milder, February goes cooler, but not desperately cold, goes towards average type temperatures. And then March does go colder than average again. So after that milder interlude around the middle part of winter, we finish up on quite a cold note, potentially in March, and that could give us some wintry potential as well. And then for April, again colder than average for April as well, so quite a cold start to the spring being signalled here. Most of Europe looking pretty cold as well. So really quite interesting update this from the CANSIPS. It looks like we start off on a cold note in December, then we progress to something milder for January, and then from February onwards we gradually get colder and colder as we move through February, March, April. Remember, these are anomalies. So this chart in April, for example, probably in terms of the actual temperature won't be as cold as the one that we see for January, but they're anomalies. So for April it's colder than the 30-year average, whereas for January it's a bit milder than the 30-year average. Finally, have a look at the precipitation. Coming back to November again. Remember, November is a wild looking month, so we've got a wetter than average November being signalled there, significantly wetter than average, and hardly surprised with projection blasting through the country in that sort of position. Moving through into December, this is the one that looks potentially the most wintry out of the three winter months. So we've got all of this ridging around here, lots of blocking being signalled there. And then we've got wetter than average anomalies down to the south. So essentially we've got ridging to the northwest, a trough down to the south and the east. It means that the winds are going in that sort of direction. And of course, with above average rainfall, particularly focused on the south of the country, or above average precipitation, we do have to think about the chance of wintry conditions. Near normal precipitation for January. There we go. We're virtually average with the precipitation for January. For February, we go drier than average. A dry month being signalled into February. Notice quite dry over Scandinavia as well. So this could very well be implying that we've got some sort of ridging to the east and the north, but also it looks like we've got ridging around the country as well. But I think the jet is probably trying to come in that sort of direction. And then for March, the precipitation goes a little bit wetter than average in the south, near normal elsewhere, but it is a more unsettled month. It's a colder month as well, so maybe some late season snow, a possibility in March. And then near normal precipitation for April as well. So it's all a very interesting a mixed bag. Looks like we're going to have a very variable few months of it coming up, with a stormy November, potentially very wet as well. December looking really cold and wintry potentially. Then it all sort of backs off as we go through into January and get quite a mildish nondescript type month. And then it gradually starts getting colder again from February through into March and through into April. So quite what to make of it all, I'm not sure. Really just coming back to the next couple of months, November and December, they're the two that I think we should probably concentrate on, because in theory that's the most reliable part of all of this. And it is quite interesting how it's going for that cold December, when most of the models that we looked at last month, anyway, most of them were back-ending the cold, suggesting that the latter part of winter would be colder than the first part. So what we're going to have to do is wait and see whether any other models start coming up with this idea that it's December we've got to look at. We know December over the past 30 years has tended to be the coldest month of the winter. Look at 2010, for example, but also back into 1990s. So let's just wait and see. It'll be interesting to see whether any other models come up with the same idea that it's December we need to focus on. But of course, if CANSIPS is on to something here and we have a cold December, we may have to start thinking about a cold Christmas. And I'll be doing sort of a musing about Christmas on a dedicated page for Christmas forecasts tomorrow. So come back for that if you're interested in the possible weather for the Christmas period. Right, that's it for CANSIPS Saturday. Tomorrow we're doing the fourth Winter 15-16 update, as well as that musing for Christmas. So it's all happening at website now. We're firmly into thinking about winter. Keep coming back and checking back for more. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.